Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Renee Long, one of the social media specialists and webinar coordinators here at ACHS, the American College of Healthcare Sciences. Joining me today behind the scenes for all our technical needs is Dominic Aiello, the other social media specialist and webinar coordinator here at ACHS. It's my pleasure to welcome you to today's ACHS Info Session webinar, Scouting Scholarships for Your ACHS Education, with Senior Admissions Advisor Amanda Heller. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. You'll notice that you have a control panel at the right-hand side of your screen. There are two places to write comments, a general chat box at the bottom and a questions box above that. If you have a question you would like me to write down for the Q&A at the end, go ahead and type it into the questions box. And also, just a small reminder, we are working with a new teleconference software, GoToWebinar, so please bear with us if we experience any technical difficulties. We're doing our best to keep the webinar running as smoothly as possible. You also may have noticed that your line has been muted. We are recording today's webinar, and this helps ensure we can clearly hear our presenter. We will also have a Q&A period at the end of the webinar, so if you have questions as we go, again, type them into the questions box at the bottom of your control panel. I will go ahead and write them down, and I'll read them to Amanda at the end. If you have further questions that require a bit more research, or if we can't get to your question during the Q&A, please feel free to follow up with Amanda directly at amandaheller@achs.edu. And now I'll go ahead and turn over the webinar to our presenter, who will give a brief introduction and then begin her lecture. Welcome, Amanda. You should now have control of the webinar.
Hi, everybody. My name's Amanda, and I'm the Senior Admissions Advisor in the Admissions Department at ACHS. And I put together the scholarship ideas and thought it'd be a great idea to share it with everybody because we're always looking for a way to fund our education, make it a little bit easier. So let's talk about what we're going to go over. First, how to create a professional image, how to craft a professional resume, how to gather references, how to put together a proper professional essay or cover letter, depending on what's asked for in the scholarship, how to stay organized, how to look for scholarships in unexpected places. It's all about being creative. I'm going to show you where there's some access to some scholarships on our ACHS website. How to be searching for scholarships, reminding everybody don't be discouraged. I'm going to give you some more ideas on searches. And like Renee had mentioned, we're going to have a question and answer session, so hopefully we'll make sure all your questions have been answered at the end. So here we go. Professional image. Nowadays with social media, we are all over the internet. So the first thing I figure is always a great idea, Google yourself. What images pop up, what articles pop up. If you have blogged in the past, submitted articles, make sure there's nothing negative that would hurt your image. If there is, go back into your Facebook, your Twitter, your blog, and consider making some of that hidden. In other words, check your privacy settings because anybody can find anything and you wouldn't want it to possibly affect your education or, if we even look further down the road, your career opportunities. So first, after we've Googled yourself, we've set up privacy settings, go ahead and we want to set up a professional email account. You're going to be using your email for searching for scholarships, possibly submitting scholarships, waiting to hear back from scholarship committees. So we want to make sure that we're not using our email from when we were in high school or just for our junk mail. So make sure there's no offensive language. Keep a separate email account just for the scholarships, and try just to use your name and maybe some basic numbers. Third, something great to look at is using LinkedIn. It's almost like Facebook, but it's a professional site. So you can add your resumes, you can add anything you've participated in terms of like volunteer work. This is an amazing site because there's a lot of connections that can be made between organizations and people within different organizations and companies. So this is an opportunity to put an awesome light on yourself and get your name out there. So a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of scholarships out there that are often easy to apply for, but sometimes they want to know about your history. So, because there'll be scholarships that are based on not just your work history, but volunteer participation activities, organizations you're involved in. So you'd want to start, if you haven't, start making notes of the last, say 5 years, and keep track and list all volunteer work and activities. You want to keep a running list of dates, people, and places of all previous activities. I know it sounds like a lot of homework, but it'll pay you back in the end. You want to list everything in order, starting with the most recent, so that way you can be very specific, and the person going over your resume, just like as if they were for a job, can see quickly, easily what you've been doing. And of course, keep it under 1 page. As we know, people don't like to spend a lot of time reading documents. We're, I guess you could say, a society of instant gratification. So let's keep it under 1 page. And of course, only include applicable information. If you're not sure, or you're not sure it's appropriate, it doesn't match up with the type of scholarship you're applying for, just don't include it. And of course, lastly, keep it simple. We don't need any fancy fonts. We want it, again, easy to read and just to look nice. I get a lot of questions about gathering references, so I want to make sure we included this. There are scholarships as well that will want reference letters, so they can use those as a window into who their applicant is and their past and activities. So you should start thinking about 2 to 3 reliable people that you respect, and also know your dreams, ambitions, interests, passions, and what you're looking to do in school. You can look at anyone, mentors, supervisors, colleagues, people you've volunteered with possibly, members of organizations you've worked on projects with before, that know you and know you professionally. So unfortunately, you can't ask any family. Third, when you do ask for a letter of recommendation, the best thing you can do professionally is provide at least a 4-week time. You don't want to overwhelm them because, as you know, you're busy, they're busy, and that gives them a great amount of time to put that and design it, put it together. If we get close to that 4 weeks, you haven't seen it come through, send them a polite email asking them if they've gotten a chance to complete the letter. And if not, just remind them when you'd like to receive it by. Sometimes we all need a little reminder. If the scholarship asks for the letter of recommendation to be sent directly to the scholarship organization or committee, do provide them with a self-addressed stamped envelope. Make it as easy as possible for your reference to get that letter out. If you're allowed to receive the letter of recommendation, you can always ask your reference if it's okay that you make multiple copies to use for multiple scholarships. So that way you can save those and use them more than once. And if you're applying for multiple scholarships, and it seems it's getting a little overwhelming, you might consider a service like interfolio.com. It's around $20 a year. It's a service where you can send it out to your reference. They upload their letters for you in a so they're uploaded on the site, and then you can access them at any time. It's like a great, awesome, secure place to keep them and know you can always go back. Now this gets to the stressful part, the essays, the cover letters. Every scholarship is different. I've had students tell me they have written an essay on everything from their favorite ice cream flavor to very serious matters, such as questions relating to, who's influenced you the most, what event has influenced you the most up to this point in your life. So you want to be really specific, zero in on the scholarship qualifications, and read what they're wanting from you so you can be really specific in your essay. You want to highlight your accomplishments if they ask about them. Again, that goes back to your scholarship resume. That's going to be very helpful in returning to because you've written down all your activities and achievements. And of course, explain your aspirations. I always tell students it's really awesome practice to put pen to paper and write out their goals. What are your goals? What are you hoping to achieve by going to school? What are your career goals? And how is this scholarship going to help you achieve those? And then most importantly, proofread, proofread, proofread. Have a trusted friend or mentor read over your essay. That can give you some great feedback on making sure things flow and make sense. As well, a really helpful hint I got back in graduate school was read the essay back to yourself out loud. It sounds silly, it feels silly, but verbalizing it, you will catch any grammar mistakes that you've made, and you'll find any areas that seem to not flow into the next paragraph. So definitely try it. And of course, save your scholarship essays. There's some scholarships you'll find that almost have the same exact questions, so you might be able to copy and paste paragraphs out or reuse the scholarship essay with a little bit of editing and save yourself a lot of time and energy. So I've made you put together a scholarship resume, ask for references, start writing your essays. Now, how do you stay organized? Please keep a list of all scholarships you've applied for. This will help you keep, I think, motivated, but also keep you very organized. You can go down the list and cross off the ones you hear from as you go as well. And then I often will have students say, I'm not finding any scholarships. Everything I found you cannot apply for until fall or summer. This is a great opportunity to keep that separate list of scholarships you're going to apply for at a later time. So the scholarship, the website or organization where you can access the scholarship documents, the dates that it becomes open, due dates, and locations. That way you can refer to it throughout the year and get back to them. Third, keep a record of copies of all materials you submit. Records get lost, whether it's in the mail, via technology. If you have a packet in your file of everything submitted to the scholarship organization or committee, and something happens, you can resubmit that easily. Next, don't be afraid to set due dates. We all love our phones, we all love our calendars, our computers, our iPads, our Kindles. They all have calendar reminders, and go ahead and set those up for yourself. Especially if something's a month or two out, so it'll pop up and remind you to go back to your list in the next week. If there's an opportunity to follow up with your applications, I don't see any reason why you cannot. Just do so politely. Sometimes the scholarships will provide some information on who to contact for either a list of award winners or recipients or contact information just in general. So make a note of those, just be very polite, asking about the status. So now let's look for scholarships. It's all about getting creative, and this is from personal experience, as well as having friends that have found scholarships, as well as students. If you're involved in any churches or a particular church, sometimes they have scholarship programs just within their organization. There are social organizations within communities, such as the Elks Club, Kiwanis Club, Rotary Club. I could name a few others. You do not always have to be a member. Again, they have scholarships for people within the community wanting to further their education. I've also noticed credit unions having scholarships, and at more than one credit union. You may check their qualifications. You often will see them pop up around spring on the websites. And then a great resource is alumni organizations. If you graduated from a specific high school in a specific town, often there'll be alumni or groups specifically aligned with that high school that put programs together. Also your local government. So city, county, check for scholarship programs. And then community and personal scholarships. This is something people may think is slightly unbelievable, but there are people out there that have left money or are personally involved in providing scholarships that are not involved in a specific organization but have money to give to people to continue their education. So you may keep your eye out. Newspapers, local websites. As you're searching, you never know what you could find. So now we're looking outside our local communities. This gets even a little bit more fun, a little bit more homework, but again, I always feel it's going to pay off. So first, a lot of students I work with may already be part of professional organizations, whether through their employers or just the industries they work in. So you may check with them for scholarship opportunities. Next, national corporations. A lot of people don't realize this, but there are a lot of corporate companies that offer scholarship programs. Can range from small amounts to very, very large amounts. So don't be afraid to check websites and what might be out there. Third, your employer. Some employers may not have tuition assistance or reimbursement, but they may have scholarship programs specifically. Just for example, Walmart has scholarship opportunities for current employees. So they do have to apply, submit other paperwork, but the scholarship opportunities range from first-year college students up through graduate school. So you never know what might be available unless you ask. If you're not sure your managers would know, don't be afraid to go directly to HR. Fourth, military scholarships for all of our active duty and veteran men and women. There are a lot of scholarships out there specific to serving. So you can check the VA websites and then your local community specific to military. And then, of course, federal agencies and foundations and nonprofit organizations, religious and non-religious. There's a lot of stuff out there. Again, it's just about being creative and searching more and more. I had mentioned earlier, we do have some scholarship opportunities or links to scholarship opportunities on our website here at the college. If you go to the tuition funding page on our website, and underneath that there's a scholarship page, you'll find access to the ACHS Military Scholarship. There's the ACHS Adult Skills Educational Scholarship. And then we have access to the Helping Hands for Growth Grant Program. This is a great example of a professional organization. They have scholarships specifically for current people working in the massage therapy industry. So you definitely want to check that out. So if we get really technical, I've given you a lot of places to look for scholarships, but how do we get this going? How do we search for them? I say always start with a simple Google searches. I also provided some different websites I've came across myself personally or searched out on the right. You might want to write those down. Give you great places to start. NerdWallet is just like FastWeb, where you put in a profile and they match, or they try to match scholarships up to you. That's where that email comes in handy that you created just for scholarship pages, because they're going to send you sometimes matches Might be a lot, might not be very many, but you don't want that to fill up your normal email box. Many scholarships also are based on demographics. I've seen scholarships based on what you're majoring in college, activities you're in, your personal interest, genders, geographical areas, clubs, memberships, income, single parents, first-time college students. I've seen, even if you're left-handed, I've seen scholarships for if you're over 6 feet tall. Again, you know, be creative. Do a Google search. And then utilize your local library reference section. A lot of libraries have a scholarship book, the Ultimate Scholarship Book. The book itself can be fairly expensive, and because they put out a new version every single year, it would not be very cost effective to perhaps purchase the book yourself. So I would check out your library so you could go in and browse through there. The scholarship book pretty much compiles scholarships all over the U.S. And breaks it down based on like major or demographics. So you can browse through that for resources. And of course, it's always good to look at your financial aid opportunities if you're in a program that's eligible. But definitely, again, please write down those helpful scholarship sites. A lot of, you know, I did some of that work for you. It gives you a great place to start. So don't get discouraged. Even if you only get $50, it's helping you fund your education. It's free money, it's good money. And don't give up. You got to be persistent. I always compare scholarship hunting to job hunting. You might apply for 100 jobs and only hear back from 2. You might apply for 150 jobs and only hear back from 1. You have to keep at it. The more scholarships you apply for, the better your chances are for winning and being a recipient of those scholarship dollars. So again, if you use some of the tools I've given you today, it'll make the process a little easier and smoother, but don't give up. You can look through your entire education. Sometimes I'll hear students say, okay, I've been putting a lot of work into this, but I'm probably not going to get the scholarship, or I can't find any scholarships I match up with. There's a lot of myths out there. You don't have to have a perfect GPA. Some scholarships want to know your grades. Other scholarships, they don't even ask for them. You can be a non-traditional student. You will see a lot of scholarships out there for high school seniors, but they're not all just for high school seniors. Again, non-traditional students have a lot of access to resources out there. You just have to find them. Also, you don't have to be high income or low income. And then lastly, there's scholarships for everyone. You just have to keep searching to find one for you. So now I believe Renee is going to start with our question and answers.
Hi, everyone. So we don't have any questions coming in just yet, so now would be the time you can go ahead and type any questions for Amanda into the chat box, and I'll go ahead and read them to her, and we can have a little Q&A here. Maybe, Amanda, you could talk about, while people are thinking, maybe you can talk about any specific scholarships that you know about, or I know we talked a little bit about that before, or any of your own experience with scholarship.
Well, yeah, I definitely can talk about my personal experiences. My sister, for example, she received a $500 scholarship through a local fire department in an area she lived in. Something I don't think most people would even consider, but the fire hall had a fund set up to help people in the community go back to school. I personally received some through some of the local organizations, and then one that really helped me because it was renewable, which I had to reapply for each year in school. It wasn't guaranteed. Was through an alumni of a high school I went to. I personally had a friend that received one of the Walmart scholarships.
Oh, wow.
It was quite a process. They even had in-person interviews. But it covered a very large portion of her education, as long as she kept her grades up.
Right.
And I've seen people get scholarships even from Clairol, I once had a male student apply for anything he qualified for, and Clairol, makes makeup and shampoos, body products. So there was nothing, it wasn't gender-based, and it was for a few $1,000s, so it helped with his tuition that school year.
Okay, so we do have a couple questions that I think I can actually answer. Candy wants to know if we're going to email the list of websites, and yes, a PDF of this PowerPoint presentation will go out along with the recorded video. So everything, you can review this information, as many times as you would like. And again, we have a question from Shannon. Does your volunteer work have to be in the field you're going to school for? I think that's a great question.
Oh, definitely not. A lot of these organizations or committees really just want to see someone that's active, giving their time out to other people. So, they may specify at times it has to be an area you're involved in, but volunteer work is volunteer work. Just as an example, in high school and college, I did not always have perfect GPA compared to some of my friends who got almost all A's. And I always felt that the couple scholarships I did receive was completely based on the fact I did a lot of volunteer work. And so I showed I was just active in my community in general, and that made me stand out versus someone who just only had good grades.
Right. And it seems like if you have a ton of volunteer work that is in the field that you'd like to study, and obviously you want to keep things applicable, but if you if you have things outside that are going to show that you're well-rounded, that would make sense to list too.
Yeah, definitely.
Experience anyway. Yes, so we have another question from Bridget. Are there expiration dates to use on a scholarship you've already won? So if you've been awarded a scholarship, are those going to expire?
Actually, most are going to have dates. So they're very specific to even sometimes when you're going to be attending school, or they're going to want to know when you will be attending school, and if you don't follow through on that, they may take it back. So you do want to read all the fine details.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, here's another question from Glenda. Can some of these scholarships be online, or are most of them mail-in? I have never applied for any, so I'm just beginning.
Yeah, there's a lot that are online only. So with just the changes in technology versus 10 years ago when everything was through the mail, I'm sure you're going to find a lot that you're submitting electronically.
Yeah, that makes sense. It does seem, in my experience, it does seem like most of them are online, but every now and then a few organizations will want you to mail in a packet in that case. So I guess it depends on the scholarship. Here's another great question from Candy. Amanda mentioned LinkedIn. Is Facebook also a good resource to search for scholarships?
You know what? I actually went on 2 days ago and did some scholarship searches on Facebook. There's a few organizations that, I guess a good way of putting it is they compile scholarships or notify people if you've liked their page. And I can list a couple right now, actually.
Sure.
If you go to Facebook, you can look up Scholarship Network. It's a page in itself. Scholarship America. Scholarships.com. Scholarship Experts. Scholarships for Moms. And then lastly, there was one, Scholarships AZ. So if you just do the search in Facebook, those pages will come up. You like the pages. And I wasn't sure if they were legitimate, but as they've shown up on my Facebook feed, the scholarships, I've clicked into them. And only one of them was outdated, so they had provided a link to scholarship that had just expired. But otherwise, they've been fully legitimate scholarship links. So I feel that'd be a great resource. And because if you set them up so you see those announcements on your feeds, you're going to see those throughout the week.
Very cool. I went to apply for a scholarship, and my question is an NCCT, and do I have to take it? I'm not sure I fully understand that question, but maybe you do, Amanda?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. I went to apply for a scholarship, and my question is, what is a NCCT, and do I have to take it? It sounds like some kind of exam. Maybe, Nicole, you could elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, I'm not familiar. It sounds a little bit like an exam or professional organization.
Mm-hmm.
I'd
Yeah,
have to look into it, so she can
right.
email me and I can try to help.
Yeah, definitely. So, Nicole, you can go ahead and email Amanda this question, maybe with a link to the scholarship you're applying for, at amandaheller@achs.edu, and hopefully she
Hmm.
can answer your question a little more fully. Um, we have another question from Maria, and she would like to know, do you feel it would be unethical or out of the ordinary to ask someone to fund your schooling via a scholarship in exchange for work, or intern work?
I think that's a great question, and I don't think it's unethical. I have had students that have went to, for example, they may have been working for a smaller business, so not your traditional large corporation, and they had that relationship. They could talk to the owner about their education and if they how they felt about maybe putting together a tuition assistance or scholarship program. And I've actually seen some do that because they value their employees. So yeah, I don't think it's unethical at all. If there's funds, maybe it's something an organization could vote on. It can't hurt to ask. What's the worst answer you're going to get is no. I think the line where it becomes unethical is if there's, um, unreasonable requests or, things of that nature. If you don't feel good about it and your gut's telling you no, probably shouldn't do it. But again, it's about the relationships you have and being open, communicating, and it's almost like asking for a raise or a job opportunity. So definitely, if you're willing to put yourself out there, you never know what could happen.
Yeah, great. Okay, so we have time for one more question. This comes from Shannon, and this is a great question. How long should you know the person you are asking a reference letter?
I think that's hard to answer because
Hmm.
we have multiple people we've known for a long time, people we've maybe only known for a few months, and they know us in such different ways. So you may, get a combination of people that you ask. Some people maybe you've worked with or you've known for a long period of time versus a shorter period of time. But if it's someone that you respect and knows a lot about you and your goals, I'm not sure time necessarily is always going to matter if they have really great feedback and can put down how aware they are of your goals and who you are.
Right. Because even if you
Hmm.
work for, if you imagine doing, say you were a camper in high school or something, and you know a counselor for a whole week, they're going to know you better than maybe someone who has known you for a couple months, right? And
Yeah, definitely.
it's been like a concentrated period of time. So,
Hmm.
really probably, and I would think it would depend on, just like you said, how well know your
Hmm.
mentor, or know the person you're asking for a reference.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So those are some really wonderful questions, everyone. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
And
I enjoyed that.
yeah, and thank you so much, Amanda. It was such a great presentation.
Oh, thank you.
And that's about all the time we have for today. But again, like I said before, please feel free to send any follow-up questions to our presenter at amandaheller@achs.edu.
Yeah,
And
and no questions are silly. Send them through.
yes,
I'll help out as much as I can.
definitely. And thank you, everybody, for attending this info session webinar. And you can definitely keep an eye out for an email, which will go out tomorrow with a free recording of today's webinar. And also in a few days, it will be posted on our Facebook, but you can always, inquire if you don't end up getting that email. And please also make sure to stay subscribed to the ACHS webinar email list to receive future invites to our info sessions and our master lecture webinars. And also, please like us on Facebook at facebook.com/ACHS-EDU. And you'll see lots of webinar announcements, free recipes, free essential oil blends, lots of good stuff on our Facebook page. And you can also follow us on Twitter at the handle at achs.edu for future webinar announcements, college events, holistic health news, and all sorts of stuff of that nature. So thank you again, everyone, and Amanda, and have a wonderful day.